Welcome, Rotarians guests, to the Rochester Rotary February 16th meeting. My name is Ron Lechel, I'm president. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, would you all please join me in the four-way test? Think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Fair to walk and
concern,
will build goodwill,
and better friendships.
I don't remember.
George Crozier,
Yes, sir.
would you please give us the invocation?
Be beneficial.
Yes. Let us be in an attitude of prayer. Lord, we thank you for this gathering of Rotarians on this bright, partly sunny day. May this group grow again to be the organization it was before the pandemic. Be with the leaders of our country as they work together on the many problems before them. Bless those who lead our club, those who prepared this food for the nourishment of our bodies. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, George. All right, Jeff Whitby.
It's fun to do this again. Good afternoon and welcome to the greatest club on earth. We have one guest today that showed up, and it's a guest of Ron Lichtel. So Ron, introduce your guest. His name's Don, in case you can't remember.
This is a guy that does windows all over the city, and he does it at my house too. And he is basically wanted to be a member before. He's going to start the process now to becoming a member now.
Okay, then Ron asked me to read this. I just seen it earlier here. Janet Drobnik is resigning. She's a past president, one of the first 5 ladies in the club. She said, please accept my resignation from Rochester Rotary. It's not been an easy decision, and I will miss all of our great members. Been a member since 1991, 30 years. One of the club's 5 women joining the club. It was an honor and privilege to be part of this great club. I have many memories over the years: Arts and Apples, poinsettia sales, Rotary golf outing, and much more. I was so fortunate to be a part of those great fundraisers as being a past president in 2001. I do look forward to supporting the club in the future and do want to express my appreciation for our current president, Ron, who has been done a great job during our most difficult times. Sincerely, Janet Drobnik. So that's sad to see her go. I think she's got some issues with family and so on, but and just as when Rotary finally decided to have ladies come in the club, this club did, instead of having one girl come in the club, we went out and tried to recruit a bunch of them so that there wouldn't be like a one-person gig. So welcome all to Rochester Rotary. Thank you.
Say, can you read the last part of that again a couple times? We're gonna miss Janet. She was a great Rotarian. 15th sign-in today, Linda Eastman. We got any happy bucks today? And I'll tell you what, I got one. I'm glad to be here. Back live again. Last week was our first week back, and hopefully we're going to have this place as a permanent place. Bring you an update. Nino, I went over to talk to him at length because he shut down and we couldn't go back there. And basically, he suggested this place after we had already found it and stuff. He said, I think that was the place I was going to suggest to go. He said, don't worry about me. He said, we're going to be shut down for quite a while. He said, you guys got to do for the Rotary Club what you got to do. He said, I highly recommend you stay there. And he said, I'll show up too. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. Any happy bucks? David.
Thank you, Ron. My happy buck is for on Sunday, our church, we're doing church family on the campus. We're not yet back to having in-person worship, and we had about 80 80 vehicles come to, oh good, thank you. 80 vehicles come to drop off household and personal care items for the Rochester area neighborhood house. We filled, I think, at least 4 vehicles to take items out that are badly needed at this time. And so just really appreciate seeing church members having a chance to help the community and just being together too on Sunday.
Dave, anybody else? Of course, the mayor. Mine for that beer.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thankful for the 35 plow drivers that are out right now. That started at midnight last night. That will go till about 3 p.m. this afternoon. Then they'll pull off the roads till about 8, it's about 10 p.m. tonight. And they'll do another 16 hours. 35 to 38 people working nonstop. And I'm so glad that no one is going to complain about the snow plow removal in the city of Rochester Hills this time.
No, they're doing a great job.
I'll throw one more on. See, we have Coach Ron Rydell, past district governor on as a guest on Zoom.
Oh, welcome. Right, Mr. Rydell, glad you're with us today.
Glad to be here, everybody. Great to see so many faces. Keep going, Rochester Rotary.
What's that? There we go, huh? Is that better? Oh, whatever. Birthdays today. John Somerville, his birthday is actually today. And Peter Stuhlreier, the 21st.
News to John.
Nope, my birthday's in March. You got another month, buddy.
Wow, I just got taken back. Vito, club anniversary, Vito Pampalona, 6 years, Jerry Wankett, 33 years, and Jeff Whitby, 36 years.
Wow.
We had a letter from the neighborhood house basically thanking us for the donation. Basically, real quick, just a part of it. Because of your generosity, neighborhood house is able to provide vital services to our local community during this difficult time. He said, how can we ever thank you enough? It was Kathy, one of our members, Kathy Lazinski. Had an email to me. I won't mention who, but thanks, Tom. Basically, to bring us a little bit of an update. I mean, even with the pandemic that hit, we've had a lot of positive things already this year. We had a hands-on project book drive at Oakland University, back to school project and neighborhood house where we donated a couple $1,000s and went and worked it. When everything shut down and we got back together again, we were live at neighborhood house. If you remember the big tent top, we had a fall cleanup at the Rochester Rotary Park. Tom Nouveau had a great social event at Rivercrest. We had with the mayor, we had the picnic at Innovation Park. We had a member come back that hadn't been here in quite a while. Mary Lee is back with us. I thought that was great. And she come from a background where she was retired from the community house, and she's got a lot to offer us. Rotary Park gazebo was installed, donated by Dr. Stafford Rourke. The new garden surrounding the gazebo, basically donated by Marianne Redinger. Bill Wagner, president of the SCA and the Rochester Rotary Club member, matched Stony Creek High School Interact box food donation to the neighborhood house. That's one of our own members. Poinciana, this is the largest. This is a record for us this year. We did great on Poinsettias thanks to a number of people and Steve Ayler heading that up. We got a fundraising idea from Bill Ebinger, Rotary Park garage sale in May coming up. He's looking for 100% participation. I mean, whether you're on the committee or you're going to be there helping sell stuff or just donate something. He wants everybody to participate. I don't know if you had heard it, but I've been in contact with Bill for over a year now. He's going to retire and I'm going to take that over. And we had a comment, Peter, that you might want to be involved. Peter Stuhlreier. Okay. Masters raffle is going to be in the next week or two. We're going to go ahead and draw that. I'm going to talk to the board tomorrow night, make sure we got that set up. And then from there, the person can get the $2,500 cash prize, which then we could resell the ticket, or they will go in 2022 is when they would actually go. I had got an idea from Rodney Hulbert. This is going back probably 2-3 years ago, to use the internet, Facebook, to try to raise some money. So I talked with Andrea, and we, at length, she helped me set it up. It's on there right now. I called it the Ron Lichtel's 70th birthday wish fundraiser. And basically, I'm shooting for $14,000 for education funds, 12 of them. And we're already at $1,500. We just started it. Grace Centers of Hope in April. Rachel's putting that together. We'll have a spring cleanup in April over at the Rotary Park. And again, May, I mentioned the garage sale. We got a book drive coming up in June. The Rotary wine tasting, the board eyes didn't want to do it in April, but we've got a shot. We might be able to do it in June. So we're crossing our fingers on that one. Tim Duncan is going to put together either July, August, a deal going to Jimmy John's again. Lots happened this year. A lot's coming up. Sheriff. Oh, wait a minute. Rotarian of the Week.
I believe I was Rotarian of the Week, and I would like to pass the honor to Ray Dorr. I have been so impressed with the hard work Ray has done on behalf of this club. This guy's putting in probably 30 to 40 hours a week on behalf of Rotary. We've been working on our bylaws, and he brings us well-prepared documents. We meet about an hour and a half a week, and now he's doing the presidential training and the leadership training, and he just does a fabulous job, and just extremely organized, and a pleasure to work with, and a great asset to the club. So Rotarian of the next week, for this coming week, will be Ray Dorr.
This is yours, Ray.
Thank you, Christine. And we can only accomplish things through teamwork, and we've got a great team of folks working on both of those things you mentioned. And tomorrow morning, we begin our first President's Transition Team Workshop for next year's president and his leadership team. So looking forward to working with that group of 10 or 12 people that's involved in that. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ray. Sheriff, Mr. Peter Stuhlreier. Stuhlreier, that is German, isn't it?
I knew I liked you. Let me just start out with a fine to Phil Lohman, $3. Today is tax day, Brian's favorite day. The money's flowing in, but little did anybody know that there was a millage for the Rotary sheriffs. So that's $1 for everybody online as well. Can you see me down there online? It's $1, everybody, on top of Phil's $3. This day in history, let's cover this real quick. I'm going to be brief. 1923, King Tut's tomb was discovered. 1964, the Beatles were on their second time on the Ed Sullivan Show. So if you have a Beatles song on on any of your devices, that's $2. And if you don't have Steve Martin's parody of the King Tut song on any of your devices, that's also $2. So, I do have that on. It's also the day that Tanya Harding won the U.S. figure skaters. And I can't think of a fine for that, so I'm going to let it go. If you stayed home today because of the snow, that's $2. If you have a snowblower, and you haven't used it yet, that's $2. If you left your vehicle outside overnight last night, that's no fines today. It is National Wedding Month, by the way. So if you have an anniversary this month, that's $2. It's also Punchki Day, as many of you know. And so we're going to play a little game called Smartest Guy in the Room. It's always starring John Gaber. And he is going to spell Punchki without looking at his phone. He's already looking down. If he spells it correctly, nobody in this room pays a fine. Everybody online pays $3. Bingo, he got it. Look at that. Smartest guy in the room. You hear that, everybody online? Pony up. He is the smartest guy if he can spell that.
We couldn't hear him. Do you think it's fixed?
Yeah, nope. I was ruling. I noticed he did not look at his phone at all, and nobody coached him, not even the Polish people in the room. It is Mardi Gras, so if you've been to New Orleans ever, it's $3. It's canned food month. If you didn't give to a canned food drive to make up for it, I'll let you pay $2. Canned food month, that's true, and that includes sardines. You know, I don't know that I have anything else, but make sure that you give your $5 this week. Looks a little thin, so we got to keep the cash flow coming. Keep all of Ron's events going on. Go online, look at Facebook, give to the Education Fund. Thank you very much. Mr. Tim Duncan, you want to introduce our speakers today?
All right, good afternoon, Rotarians. Today we have three of our own speaking to us about how the real estate business is faring. We have two agents, Mr. Tom Naveau and Mr. Jeff Whitby, and a mortgage broker, Mr. Alan McClellan. A couple of tidbits about our speakers. Were you aware that Tom Naveau is a martial artist? So anybody, just make sure you don't irritate him. Don't make him mad. So, all right. So just in case you didn't know that little tidbit, Jeff Whitby is a trombonist. He plays multiple styles of music, concert, jazz, etc. And Alan McClellan, I don't have a specific tidbit about Alan other than he has a cool Jeep and plays a mean game of golf. So without further ado, please help me welcome Tom, Jeff, and Alan.
Whatever. Hey guys, man, the mortgage industry has been one heck of a ride for the last years, probably since March. I mean, interest rates are at an all-time low. Every time I think they can't go lower, they surprise me and go lower. It's been a crazy ride. However, during the pandemic, we've had some, we call them in the mortgage business, COVID overlays, which Fannie and Freddie put on all mortgages. Just to give you an example, typically on a refi or a purchase, we would ask for, last 2 years W-2s, current pay stub, maybe a tax return. Now they're asking for your last 3 pay stubs. And typically right before we would close, we'd verify your employment. Now we're verifying your employment during the process. We're verifying that your employment at closing. And then on a refi, there's a 3-day right of rescission. So on that 3rd day, we're calling again and verifying your employment to make sure you're still working. So, and for self-employed borrowers, like most of us in the room here, probably, typically we would ask for last 2 years personal and business tax returns. So now we're asking for profit and loss right up through the day of closing. And on top of that, we're asking for 3 months bank statements to make sure that the profit and losses are actually true. So, and then the other thing, a lot of clients are calling. They want to take advantage of how low the rates are, and we pull their credit, look at their mortgage history. But as we start talking to them, they're like, "Oh no, we're not making payments." Well, why aren't you making payments? Well, our lender told us we don't have to make payments during this pandemic. Well, guess what? We can't refinance you. You haven't been making payments. We cannot give you a loan. So some of the other changes are credit scores. So we used to be able to do a conventional loan at 620. Now they went up to 640. We have some cash out restrictions now. We used to be able to go up to an 80% loan to value. Now we can only go up to 65%.
Wow.
So debt to income ratio, FHA used to be at 56.9%. Now they're down to 43%. So that's the amount of income you're making monthly and the amount of debt going out monthly. Let's see. Down payment. Some of the lenders have, we used to be able to do conventional loans with 5% down. A lot of them are going to 10% down now. And then they have, along with that, if they do approve you, if you're strong enough to put the 5% down, there's an adjustment to the interest rate. So you're paying about 1/8 of a more higher on your interest rate. Reserves, typically they want to see 3 months reserves. So your monthly payment, they want to see that you have 3 months of that sitting in a bank account. Now it's 6 months. So, yeah, I don't know if you remember, Jeff, back when the pandemic first started, we had a client that was in contract, and yeah, and so he was furloughed. So because right back in March, nobody knew what was going to happen. So he was furloughed, and we had an application, and we were getting ready to close, and we called to verify his employment, and the employer said he's furloughed, and we had to call him and say we can't give you the loan. So luckily we got creative, and we were able to qualify him just on his wife. So we took him off the loan, and we ended up closing, but that was a tough deal. And I think that's about it for me. So, any questions?
So you're getting a lot of interest, but it's harder to qualify people?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm really blessed. We've been so busy, since, interest rates are so low. Unfortunately, there's not, you'll hear from these guys, not a lot of inventory out there. So we're getting people that want to buy. But on the refi side, we're taking a lot of people from a 30-year to a 20-year or 15-year. So. More questions?
Let me put a little smile on your face. Mr. President, we forgot to sing happy birthday to Linda Eastman. So if we can, is that your birthday? Oh, I thought it was your birthday. Oh, excuse me then. I misunderstood. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about residential real estate. Crunching the numbers. If you've listed and sold a house, been out there looking for a house, try to buy a house, the emotions are off the scale, especially if you got a wife. One of my old sayings was when they looked at a house and they were kind of undecisive, I said, the husband, when he wakes up in the morning, he will make the right decision. So if you take a look at the handout that I gave you, these guys put up the slideshow, Rachel? Okay, thank you. The first page I'm going to give you, this is the local market update. This is just the month of January, just taking a look at it. Up in that top right corner is my real source. This is the multiple listing service that I use to advertise the houses and look for houses. As of this past weekend, they just signed up the Clare, up in Clare, Michigan, the multiple listing service. So when you're using a realtor now, we can get the information for almost 97% of the state of Michigan. So if you've got a cottage up north and you're done using it, instead of listing it with a guy that you don't know, call your local guy. He can really help you out. But if you take a look at this first, I'm just going to kind of highlight new listings in the month of January compared to last year was down 20%. Pending sales though is up. The closed sales is up. Days in the market is way down. The median sale price, this is considering now the whole MLS, is up 17%. Let's go to the next thing, crunching the numbers. This is new residential listings. Now the big bar, the tallest one, again, that's the whole MLS, and you can see the numbers. Rochester, 364 listings. Rochester Hills, 13, little over 1,300. In Oakland Township, 458. Now closed means they signed the deed, they changed the money. Rochester 262, Rochester a little over 1,000, Oakland Township. Days on the market. And if you're taking a look at this, I'm doing Rochester, Rochester Hills and Oakland Township. So this is probably the area that's vastly affecting everybody. But days on the market, Rochester 19, Rochester Hills 18, and Oakland Township 21 days. This the next one is price per square foot. When you start taking a look at multiple size houses, let's say you want to compare a colonial to a bi-level or a ranch. A lot of times what the appraisers do is they take a look at a price per square foot. What are they paying for? As I was having a conversation with Jeff Whitney last week on the phone, I seen a government-owned house come up for sale. It was in Clawson or someplace. And they were asking, it was 1,000 square feet. They were asking $165,000 for a 1,000 square foot house. I said, that's $165 a square foot. That is unbelievable for that type of an area. But we see this. And I'm going to cover that, why that becomes a problem a little bit later, but we're seeing distressed property coming on the market at that kind of a price. The next one is very, if you're selling a house, this is percent of the listing price. As you can see from these, the people are not coming off their sale price that far when they're taking offers on their houses. They're that close between what they're listing it for and what they're actually taking an offer for. But these are some of the tools you need to compete in today's market. With every listing that's coming onto the market, it's a bidding war. So I tell people, I say, you need to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what I want to pay for the house. And when you get out there and you bid, this is where you got to be. And if you don't get the house, then move on to the next one. Now, a pre-approval letter, again, no seller is going to take a look at your offer unless you have a pre-approval letter. I see some of the lenders coming out. I won't mention any names, but they're also putting on a letter guaranteed to close. I said, what is guaranteed to close? But that's what the lenders are doing to try to push their product versus the other lenders that are in the area. Understand the rising values in your area. Again, this is going back to knowing the values, knowing what you're going to pay for the house and when you're going to stop bidding. Have a game plan, do your homework. Most people, they have to sell a house in order to buy a house. This is where the lender comes into play. There are programs out there which you can finance the equity in your house. Again, this is a little bit of a squeeze play, but let the lender explain it to you, understand what's going on. I can guarantee you that your house priced properly is going to sell within a very short period. So you won't be playing the squeeze play that long, but it is a necessary thing. Are you ready to pay over list price? Again, knowing the values of your house and when to get off the ride. With today's interest rates, you can actually buy more house than what you thought you could do. This is probably for the financial guys in the room. Large down payment versus a little bit down payment. Okay, with today's cheap interest rates, I tell people finance as much as you can. But then again, it gets into how do I feel about making a $2,000 payment versus maybe making a $1,000 payment, or wherever you're at in your house payment and your income and your comfort level. The last slide is talking about short appraisals. When the appraiser goes out and takes a look at it, you finally got your bid accepted and you did your home inspection and you guys are looking at each other saying, yes, we want the house. Then the appraiser comes out. The appraiser gets paid whether the house closes or not. He does not get paid at the closing table like everybody else. And they only look at active and pending sales. They don't look at those. They only look at closed sales. So we're in the springtime and prices are jumping. The appraisers are supposed to put a little grease on the wheel, but that's sometimes is not the case. So you might have to pay cash out of your pocket above and beyond your down payment and your closing costs to make up the difference in the sales price, because Mr. Seller says, if you want the house, this is the number. I don't care what the appraiser says. So now you may get in an argument with your wife, but it all depends on how bad you want that house and where are you going to sleep tonight. So again, buying and selling real estate is a highly, highly emotional part in your life. And the faster that you can bring it to terms and get a sale going or get an approved purchase agreement, life becomes dull again. But the big thing is you've got to have a game plan. You got to be working with your lender, working with your realtor, so everybody knows what's going on. Most of the times when I take people out to look at houses, the first time we go out, we don't even look at houses. We just sit down, talk about money. And then when they don't like what they're seeing, we raise the prices. They understand where they're going to be. And it's just makes the process a lot easier. Let's give it to Mr. Whitby and get his take.
I think since this is a 40% microphone, I'll try using the trombone voice instead. I do both commercial and residential real estate. I started out 25 years ago because we owned the building. I leased it out and I just fell right into it. There are buyers out there for commercial real estate right now, but they're confused. I've had a lot of buyers this last year that every time a governor made a mandate, I lost one. They just got scared. They were nervous. They thought it was over. It wasn't over. Now they're stopping. And so we have a lot of litter of buyers that are out there. We also have a kind of most of the metropolitan area is getting more difficult to deal with municipalities. I'm blocking one of these people right now, but that is killing a lot of people. Look at it and they say, wait, this property has too many troubles for this. No, we'll go some other city. And the other thing that we're running into is when we had the downturn a dozen years ago, a lot of banks lost a lot of lenders in the commercial arena and never replaced them. And the hardest thing to do right now in commercial real estate is get a commercial lender to actually return a friggin' phone call. And if you can't get them to return a phone call, you can't hardly get a loan. And that's there. So land contracts have been a lot more popular. They've been working well. The cost of putting a loan together is so expensive that, and then also capital gains and things of that nature, if you can pull something off. And there's a lot of buyers that are very cash strong anyways, so that they can do something there. One of the things that there's a lot of businesses out there like restaurants, for example, which I happen to have 3 tenants that are in food service. That's why I don't wear ties anymore. But they're getting by. But their problems have not hit the wall yet where, who's going to close, who's going to survive. And, when you look at it, I have had one of my tenants that didn't survive, but he was able to sell out to somebody else that looks like they're going to make it work. So I know that there's going to be a hidden revelation of survivors coming up in the next couple of months that's going to determine a lot of real estate values. And, that's the thing there. I was reading an interesting story in a commercial website about the value of a movie theater building. And after they went round and round and round in circles, and they got wound up tighter in a set of off-season Christmas lights, they came to the conclusion that nobody knew what the value of a movie theater could possibly be, because it has absolutely no use. But it might have a use in the future. But there's even a comment in there about even if they got the movie theater open, there isn't a decent movie out there to watch. So it had some things there. The other thing that I see that will probably be a variable, a lot of people have gone to home office. I think in the long term, that's going to come back to being back in offices, because anybody that's invested in their business wants to invest in their people. They want to have a on-point message that they deliver. And if they can't hear and communicate real directly with their workers, their message gets garbled. And they don't want to invest that kind of money with people that are working out of the house. Now, in residential, which, last year was a very hot market. The momentum is still going, but I'll throw out two variables that would make anybody looking at the economy question. The last week or two, the Rochester Hills, Oakland Township, which normally would have a couple hundred houses on the market at this time, left over from last year and so on. There was somewhere in the 65 to 75 range. That's a shortage. So that shortage is creating bidding. But I'm not sure if it's the shortage creating the bidding or the number of buyers. Hard to prove, hard to document, but watch your money. And one of the scary things that bothers me, and I've seen this in the last downturn, and I've seen some other times when we've had this, the lower priced houses are the ones that have the biggest overbids. A lot of times they're using agents that have maybe in the business since last Thursday at 2:30 in the afternoon. And they say, you better bid $25,000 over on this $240,000 house if you're going to get it. Well, maybe that's the case. But if you get it, you may be just like the dog that caught the car and now you're running down the road. And how are you going to ever catch up on that money to sell it? So, I have some concerns that there are people that are overbidding their financial picture that will occur in 3 years. And if any of these people have problems with jobs, then that's going to be a difficulty. And jobs could be an issue because we are already seeing fuel being chopped. And the first thing that happens after fuel chops is car sales chop. And we're still in Detroit. I mean, Detroit has a lot of diversity now, but it could be an effect. And so that could soften things a little bit. I think that the mortgage industry is a lot stronger. I think that the diversity of the economic situation in the southeastern Michigan is a lot stronger. But I do think that there is a possibility for waffling in the values. And I have personally been very careful about, don't overbid unless you've got the cash in your pocket. If you're buying a $500,000 house and you can afford an $800,000 house, hey, if you overpay by $50,000, it's not a big deal because you didn't pay $800,000. But if you're at $220,000 and you shouldn't be at 223, you definitely shouldn't be at 260. And that's something there that I see as a question for people. But and that's also something else. And with the interest rates coming down, and this was something that I observed at the last downturn. I used to have people asking me all the time, how low do interest rates have to go to get the sales started again? Doesn't matter what they go to. Unless you have a job that is stable, you don't buy nothing. And so this is something that we're going to be wanting to look at as business people. We want to see the stability in the job market to know how stable the rest of our business is going to be. And I think that that's something there that's going to establish the home values and establish what's going on. And, and right now it's hard to predict the job security. It's hard to predict some of this stuff. And I think that taking a lot of that observation into hand, not saying that we're all going to jump off the cliff, but we're not going to be soaring like eagles. We need to just make sure that we watch moderation and try to read in between. And, when I'm working with somebody on an overbid, I'm very careful about saying, hey, You need to decide your money first, and then you go for the house. If you can buy a smaller house that you can overbid on and be stable, now you're working smart. If you're pushing over your limits, you're going to get hurt down the road. And I think that that's something that's there. I think that that's going to be a definite issue. I think that I think when commercial real estate, we're going to see some changes where when if any business kind of slows down and they're still financially stable, that's when a lot of companies will try to buy real estate, because that's the way that they can grow their net worth and their assets, is to buy that real estate. And generally they're looking at it. I think if we do have a little bit of a downturn, I don't think it's going to be real big a deal, because I think a lot of businesses are going to be resourceful enough to figure things out. Right now, I think that there's a lot of people, like I have 2 medical people that were thinking about buying property, one in this area, one in another area. And they just dropped boat anchor because they do not know what's going to happen to their payment plans with the medical rules that are coming up. Ted's shaking his head bigger than anybody at this point. Yeah, and that is something that's a concern. We do have those things happening, so that gives you kind of a, kind of backing up. I used to my family used to own a commercial printing company. In 1996, we closed down a 35-year-old company, lost about $850,000. I'd been working about 120 hours a week. I went and leased out the building. I got my real estate license, got started in a commission-only business after not being able to collect checks for a while. And I was president of Rotary. I really enjoyed being president of Rotary that year, because it was the thing that went really well. And I was so friggin' organized that I had, before I started my year, I had my agenda for every board meeting done. The only thing I had to do is go copy 12 of them off for the meeting. But so I've lived through some pretty desperate issues, and I'm always watching out for those, because in order to keep your glass full, you got to be looking for the troubles, and you got to keep topping off the water in it and keep on moving. And if you keep doing that, now you can work smarter and get through a lot of other troubles, and not have something kick you in the butt and then say 2 years later, what the dickens did I do? So any questions? I usually make more questions than answers. Yes, sir.
Jeff, on the office side of real estate or leasing, most of the major carriers I've heard are talking about a drastic cut in employees working in an office.
Yes.
I mean, drastic, 50% or less.
I know.
So I just wonder what that's going to do to the price of offices.
I think it's going to be a crash, but again, I really think that, and anybody that's been a boss, take 3 days off in the middle of the week. Show up 6 hours before you were supposed to. Is everything going well? It doesn't work that way. So I think that after a little bit of time, and I think after COVID breaks up, I think that there's going to be so much more efficiency of working in a building and so much more control that the real estate market will recover in the commercial office arena shortly after it does all kinds of stupid tumbles. And my reasoning for that is, if at home working would have worked, more people would have been doing it 30 years ago. Anything else? Well, thank you very much.
Had 3 great speakers today. I think we got to give them all another hand. Funny when he was talking about that, we bought in a ranch just north of Rochester, downtown Rochester, on a street that was, everything on the street was built in the 50s. We just bought a 1,600 square foot ranch. It's about almost 10 years ago. The market was real low. We put a bunch of money into it. In fact, I'm still putting money into it. Took out just a 15-year mortgage, and we just kept paying more every month. And 2 months ago, we paid it off. I got real estate people telling me, man, we can get this for your house now. It's like, yeah, where am I gonna go? Listen, any other comments or questions or anything before we close out? This was interesting. Dismissed.